good. How are you doing?
Good. Wow, your hair is so long.
Oh, I know. I'm not used to this. I've always cut my hair off when it got to my shoulders, so.
Yeah. It's a new thing. Good. It's good to do different things sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Diversity Chat, where we bridge the gaps of diversity and destroy ignorance before it destroys another life. And I want to welcome my guest. Yes, can you please share your name?
I am Tasha Cox, or LaTausha Cox. I always seem to introduce myself as Tasha and not LaTausha, so I'm trying to change that.
Okay.
Yes.
I will speak to you as LaTausha.
Well,
then.
You know me, so you can say Tasha, but people who don't.
For your formal introduction, it's LaTausha.
Yes.
And where are you from, and where do you currently reside?
Well, I'm from Hamilton, Ohio, and I currently live in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Nice.
So I stay pretty much close to home.
Yeah. Cincinnati are they the ones that have the really nice art museum?
Yes.
Or is it the art school? No, I can't get it straight. Something to do with art. And then what ethnic group do you identify as?
I am African American and female.
All right. And then what is your age, if you're willing to share?
Yeah, I'm 36.
All right. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. So I know you through college. We both went to art school. Your illustrations really inspired me, so I definitely wanted to have you on the chat because I've seen some recent artwork as it relates to the current climate of our country. So I wanted to talk to you about two things: the art as activism and parenting. So let's start with art as activism. What projects have you done recently? Just like a little snippet.
Yeah, well, recently I was one of the lead artists for the Black Lives Matter mural for Cincinnati. And so that has created a whole collective. There were 17 artists that created each letter and the exclamation point. So each of us now are part of a collective called Black Art Speaks. And with that, we are working on projects to impact our community through art.
Wow. That just started like this year.
Yeah. Like a month ago. But then other things that I've been working on is I am currently finishing up my master's degree in art education. And so that's really what sparked me focusing on race and identity, because that's all that I'm focusing on in my research studies.
Very cool. Wow. How much longer did you stay on master's program?
Well, technically, I'm finished, but I'm getting my teaching license, so I'm just in the license portion of it. So by May next year, I'll get my license and my degree.
Wow. Well, congratulations in advance. As fast as this year is moving, May will be here before you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're reading it right now. So it sounds like you guys have had. I was going to ask you what kind of impact has come out of your art piece. So just like a slight description. Well, it'd actually be better if you gave a description of it. What does the art piece look like? How big is it? What letter did you do?
So I did the letter E in lives, and so mine was focused on education. Each letter represented a different thing that we want, a different area that or a demand that we're asking. So mine represented education, which I requested because I am studying art education, and so I felt like that was something that I should focus on. So my letter has in the bottom of it, it's a student that's disengaged from class. It's like a classroom scene. So mine is a narrative. It's a little different than some of the others, but it's a classroom scene with a giant image of a student that's disengaged, but then above him it shows pouring of money that represents how we can, if we pour into our students with resources, invest in them with funding, and then there's a ladder that shows a ladder in hands in a school that shows if we also offer community support, that we can't provide them with the tools to be successful in their education and a promising future.
Very exciting. And it looked like, I mean, I saw like a picture of it, but it looked like it was like on the grounds. Was it somewhere specific?
It's right in front of City Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the street, and we are working towards getting that street closed so that it could be a pedestrian plaza.
Ooh, nice. Well, you guys got greenery there and everything?
Yeah.
Plants?
Yeah, and then it will be a space that, we can really do what we want to, and it can be used for educational purposes and just a reminder of the meaning. It's a symbol of us moving forward and bringing change.
Wow. And have you guys noticed that the politicians or anybody has been paying attention to it? Have you gotten any responses?
Yes, there's a lot of responses, especially I've been overwhelmed with all the allies that have come out through this process. Just people who are showing their support, coming from areas that I would not have expected, especially older white people who I just wouldn't have expected them to speak out, or even to just the mural and use it as their cover page for their cover image for their Facebook page or whatever they're doing. So that's been really impactful for me to see people actually taking those letters or the full image and using it to even like teach their kids. You can see parents going down, showing the kids the mural in the street, and talking through like the purpose of different symbols and words that are included in that. So it's definitely making an impact on our community here.
Wow, that's awesome. The educational piece, you're definitely fulfilling your major already. Do you feel like, I'm curious, like, how permanent is that piece? It's on the ground, right? Like, so people can currently drive over it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
We did use street paint, so like the paint that they used for the lines and arrows and everything on the street. It's the type of that we use, so it's supposed to last at least 5 years.
Whoa! Now I have to go to Cincy real quick. The plane tickets are cheaper actually for me to go to Cincinnati anyway, so then go home. So that's cool. Wow, thank you for sharing what you guys are doing out there. Thank you guys for your activism. You fighting for Black lives means you're fighting for mine too. So thank you. And so I want to talk to you about parenting. Hopefully it's not. Let me know if my questions are too invasive or anything like that. But what is it like for you raising a Black man in America right now?
Well, my son he just turned 18, and it's terrifying. So I'm constantly reminding him just how to stay safe, and just how to represent himself when he's out. And it's a scary time. It's really scary, and I think that he also has this this thought that he's a kid, so he just feels like all of that is kind of it won't happen to him. All the things it won't, like he's kind of exempt from it. So I feel like I'm constantly kind of nagging him about it, but I want him to be safe. So I have a list of things that I'm like, make sure you do or don't do this. If you get pulled over, this is how you should respond. And if you happen to be arrested, the goal is just to come home. Like, we can take care of whatever we need to take care of, but do whatever to just come home. And, that's a really emotional thing to even think about, but you have to.
Can you give us a rundown of like some of the things you say to him specifically in order for him to be able to navigate the land right now?
Well, first, to not do anything that's reckless, like drive safe. Be careful about the company you keep, who you're riding with or where you're going. Not being out too late. And then if you do get pulled over, being extremely respectful, saying yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Always keeping your hands visible. Ask before you do anything. Ask permission before you do anything. Just really being extremely aware of what you're doing and how you may come across. Like, don't do anything that could possibly lead to seeming threatening or whatever. Which, of course, that doesn't mean that nothing will happen, but at least maybe it will lessen the likelihood of something happening.
Yeah. Wow. How do you let people know that your son is quote unquote safe or like not a threat?
Well, I feel like no matter what you do, people are going to view you in that way. I'd say about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months, my son was with some friends right in front of our house. They were basically shooting a basketball around and just kind of laughing and joking because of COVID. They haven't been able to see each other, so they were kind of just having a quick meetup. But the police showed up because a neighbor called the police saying that there was a group of black males that were in front of their home. And so that really bothered me and made me real upset. One, I don't know what neighbor it was, so I feel like I can't trust my neighbors. I don't know what they're capable of, and that could have led to something. It could. Anytime the police are called, that's a chance for life to be lost, and so. For them to be playing basketball in front of his home and police show up was just ridiculous. And it shows me that you really aren't safe and you're going to come off threatening just because of your skin color. So that event really showed me that I can't really show people that he's not threatening, because my son is like, he's a super quiet guy. He's really thin and frail. He's like, everything about him would say he's not threatening. Yet, a neighbor felt the need to call the police. So, yeah.
Just because of his skin tone, not his body language or any, his the way he looks or anything other than his skin tone just felt like a threat. Sounds like I never really thought about the kids that think like they're invincible and they don't see it as like that they could be affected by it. How did he respond when he experienced that with the police in front of your house?
Well, he almost didn't tell me. Okay. I guess it didn't. He was upset about it, but at the same time, it didn't faze him like it fazed me. When he told me, I'm like, I was lost. I called other neighbors to let them know what had happened, and I was sharing it with all kinds of people and just trying to figure out what kind of action should be taken. But for him, he kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, nothing happened. The police officer left. We told him what we were doing, and that was the end. And so I'm not sure what kind of impact it had on him, but just from his demeanor, he didn't really seem so fazed.
Yeah. Sounds like you guys had a good cop that was called, and that person wasn't looking to hurt anybody, but really just responding to a call, which is, kudos to that cop or those cops involved that they didn't do anything negative. So I'm glad to hear that. How do you feel about, like, let's say it's a requirement or a responsibility as a mother to need to inform your son about being Black in America and how to stay alive?
One thing that I told someone was that some of the conversations that I have or the things that I do are so part of my normal. It's it's so common for me that it's sad that it's just what I do, and I don't even think about it. Because even when I'm sharing things that happen, like sometimes I talk about it so casually where people are like, wait a minute, that was a big thing that you just said. And it's so it bothers me that this is something that has become my standard and just part of my everyday life. It's necessary, but it shouldn't have to happen. My son shouldn't have to experience this, and I have a 6-year-old daughter who is. She asks now, after watching the news and seeing different situations, she's like, when they're saying is a white cop or a Black man or whatever, she's like, why does the color matter? Like, why does that matter? And I'm like, it shouldn't matter, but it does. And so it's been really interesting to just watch how these race conversations have to happen between both of my kids, because they're at completely different stages of life. So, my daughter being 6 and my son being 18, and for me too, it's like there's limits to what I can say to my daughter, because I also don't want to make her afraid. We were having a whole conversation about the police, and I'm like, if you're in trouble, I want you to feel like you can ask them for help, but also I want you to understand that you have to be cautious, because that's also a tricky situation. So the whole dynamic of just having those conversations and how much to give to your child at whatever stage of life. It's like my son, I want him to really understand just the magnitude of everything that he does and how that can some of the things that he does or where he goes, or how his interactions could be life or death. And for my daughter, I don't want her to lose her innocence, and I don't want her to be fearful of being Black, but I also don't want to paint this picture that everything is rainbows and butterflies when it's not. So I have to really pay attention to just what am I saying to her, how am I walking it all out in front of her, and so we try to surround her with people who are of all kinds of people. Well, both of our kids. That's all different races, ages, educational levels, just so that they have a clear view of what people are like, where people come from, and really appreciating the stories of their experiences instead of focusing on their color or having those negative views. So that way they can really enter situations feeling informed and prepared.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't think about it, the age difference and even the gender.
Yeah.
Between it. Let me see. So, how do you feel about the reality that people of other ethnicities don't have to inform their children of these threats?
I feel like that's just the world we live in. So I can't be upset with them, but I also feel like it's necessary to understand the life of a Black person and some of the experiences. So, like my artwork right now is all reflective of just racial things that have happened in my life, my personal experiences. So I don't try to represent, all Black people or all Black women or anything like that. Everything that I do, it's all based on my experience. And so I tried to share my story so that the people that encounter my work will understand the things that I've had to deal with throughout my life, and still just have a better view of what that looks like and what life in my shoes is like. And so I know a friend of mine who's a white woman, she was just telling me about one of the drawings that I did, that the story behind it, where my sister and I, we grew up in a swim community. It was all white neighborhood, and we had a neighborhood pool that only was only the people who lived there had access to it. So every neighbor had a key to the gate. And so the drawing that I did was showing how neighbors would slam the gate door closed in our faces when we would approach the gate. And then once we did enter the gate, they would all leave. So we never swam with our neighbors. Which, I mean, as kids, we thought that was great because it was like, we get a pool
Worst thing.
But,
yeah.
But, I mean, that was just a terrible situation. And the experience living there was just constant, racial tension. And but my friend was just talking about how that image, she was in tears talking about how seeing that image and understanding that that's what we dealt with as children has been meaningful for her. So I just feel like we just have to share our personal experiences, and because I come off as like, I don't know, I hate to use the term, but like a safe Black person. And so I found out that people felt like I don't experience those things because I wasn't talking about it. So once I started talking about it, then it was like, oh my God, you deal with that, or that happened to you? It's like, yes, that happened to me. It happens all the time. It's these are regular things that I deal with, just daily. So I'm not exempt from racial issues or comments or whatever it might be. So I felt like it was necessary for me to start sharing my experiences through my art, and really just thinking about it and drawing what those experiences look like, and that way I can share it with other people and give them something to reference when they're trying to figure this all out.
I love that you did that, because It sounds like you're not someone who complains, and you're not someone who lets difficult things take her under. So you kind of maybe don't stay there in that mindset, but it's still your story and it still affected you. And so I'm glad that you have that outlet of art and that it's really touching people's lives. So thank you for putting that out there. Let me see. And I'm curious, what would you say to those people? There's people out there. I don't know if you heard this already, probably, but those people out there who believe racism isn't real. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that you're living in a bubble and that you need to get out of your bubble and really spend time with other people that don't look like you, that don't live like you, don't have the things that you have, to really understand. Because I don't get angry with those people, because a lot of times people they show you who they are, and a lot of times it comes from their upbringing. The people who are they're yelling, all kinds of profanity and racial slurs and everything with their kids sitting right next to them. So those kids, when they're adults and they're doing the same thing, I can't be upset at them, but I can do things to try to help them, or at least provide things like educational material or just my artwork alone that can, and also just the way that I model my life and walk out life around them to hopefully bring change to their heart. And so, there's always going to be those people who just don't see it, and it's because they're not around it. Not that it's, and I don't even want to say that they're not around it, because it's everywhere. But I guess seeing the impact of it, you can be closed off to it. Because even I had to check myself, because I was growing up with all white everything. It's my school, my neighborhood, so that when I would go around people of color, they would always say, "You're too white," and I would get made fun of, and they didn't want to be around me. And so through those experiences, I started to not like who I was, and I wasn't trying to have black friends, because I was like, well, they're just going to think the same thing. I'm not black enough, and I don't know how to not be who I am. And so I had this fear and also just this discomfort of being around other black people besides, my family and my church family. But outside of that, I felt uncomfortable. And so I've had to really analyze that, investigate how to change that, because I didn't like those feelings in myself, but I had to do the work. And I couldn't just be like, well, all black people are going to see me this way, and I'm not going to be accepted, and so, I'm not going to be around them. And I couldn't, that couldn't be my life. I couldn't stay in this white bubble just because, because that's what I was used to, even though it was uncomfortable on that side too. But it was my normal. So I knew what to expect. So when I went outside of that, I didn't know what to expect, and that made me fearful. And so people who say that there's no racism, or that it's over, or whatever they might say, it's like, because it's there, and you need to do some work.
Right.
Just like I did some work. And and I'm still doing work. there's still certain situations or certain things that'll happen that I had to really pay attention to my responses and or just my emotions and figure out why do I feel that way or why can't or what do I need to do to change that. And it's always a process. We're ever changing. So I just think that everyone needs to be figuring out what is it that they need to work on. And it's not one-sided. It's not just a white thing or whatever. It's everyone. Everyone is part of the problem. So everyone can be part of the solution. So it's like you really have to see, how do I contribute? What are the things that I do or don't do? Because silence is the problem too. If you're just ignoring everything, you're a problem. So you need to really see, what is it that I can do? And what do I need to stop and what do I need to start? And really work on those things. And have some accountability. Surround yourself with people that can help you navigate that and read and just really surround yourself with resources that are going to help you be able to be successful with whatever those goals are.
Yeah, I like it. I love your heart. You have such a sweet heart, such a sweet spirit.
Thank you.
And it's like you're able to love people authentically, and that's awesome. And I love that you're basically, being that example that the world needs to see in order to know we are safe. Black people are safe, but also to maybe bridge the gap of the universes or the worlds that you grew up in versus the one that people might automatically put you in because of your skin tone. Because I have that same thing. I don't know if you saw that movie, The Hate You Give.
I have, but really want to see it.
Okay. The girl wasn't black enough for the black community or white enough for the white community, so it was kind of like this limbo, and I was like, I know your pain. So, but I'm going to go ahead. I appreciate this conversation. I'm going to go ahead and do my closing, and then if you have any closing thoughts, I'd love to hear it.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, LaTausha, or just Tasha, for joining me today, showing us your humanity, being vulnerable and being open. We really appreciate it. Hope that everybody joins us on the next diversity chat where we destroy ignorance before it destroys us. And did you have any closing remarks, anything to encourage people with? I mean, you already said so much, but just in case.
Well, thank you for thinking of me. And I just want to tell people just to love each other and be open. Be open. Have your heart open to new people, new experiences, and just constantly try to do the work.
Love it. That's good. Well, thank you so much again. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you, Tasha, somewhere in Cincinnati or come out here to California. I don't know. But
we need a reunion.
Yes, definitely. I'll see you around. God bless you.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.